morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay this morning. Let's get that camera set a bit better. Hopefully, unlike last week, I hope everyone can hear me. We've got plenty of people in the chat already, which is brilliant. Good morning, everyone. Got Chris Cox with coffee and biscuits at the ready. That's what we like to hear. I'm hoping someone will tell me in a second if I'm talking to myself or people can actually hear me. Right, let's have a look at this 1 second. Never mind. Right, okay. Yeah, everyone's saying loud and clear, which is brilliant. So good morning, everyone. Hope we're all well. I know I certainly am. Brilliant. Yep, just got a couple of confirmation texts that everyone can hear me, which is great. Right, well, this week we'll be continuing our look at a couple of the detailing parts for engineering spaces, workshops, that sort of thing. Taking a look at what we didn't get a chance to look at last week. Simon just said, yes, I am talking to myself, but we can hear you. Yeah, that's normally the case. Anyway, this week we're looking at the LX034 workshop shelving and the LX261 gas bottle cages. And I did actually have, it might be in here, and I did actually have, there we go, some gas bottles to put in the cages, which I'll also be taking a look at. I'm not going to paint them or do anything fancy with them. We'll just have a look at putting them in and see what they look like. So I've had chance on the little build that we've been doing. I've had chance to paint and glaze the windows and put them in. I have painted and glazed this window. In fact, here it is. But I've not wanted to put it in because I've not yet had chance to paint the surrounding front fascia wall. So once that's done, once this is all painted up, oh, blurry, obviously I'll be able to stick that in place. But until then, we're just going to leave it with a half-painted building. I'm going to look at some different kits. So like I say, we're doing the LX34 and the LX261 today. I think I'm going to start with the LX34. Not got much to look at today. Should be a nice, very quick, simple, painless live build, but we'll see how we get going. As normal, these kits, very simple, straightforward to get into. Just having a quick look at the instructions. Yeah, this would be a fairly easy kit to put together, to be honest. What can possibly go wrong? Right, so we've got 56 people in the chat, so good morning, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. Just look at who we've got commenting. We've got Paul Adams from Cambridgeshire, William Cooper, morning Bill, John Clegg, David Yates, Knutsford Ian, morning, Simon Cox, Jonathan Hall, Jed, Steve Cockrell, morning everyone, hope we're all doing well. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get rid of my ugly mug and let's get into it. Right, so usual kit list applies: knife, flat jeweler's file, tweezers if you need them for smaller detailing parts, deluxe materials laser cut kit glue, always highly recommended, with a 1/4 inch fine applicator, and we've also got a lemon curd jam jar, chutney jar, glass jar, with a piece of just damp kitchen roll in there. And once you're not using the glue, just store it in upside down like that, and it just prevents the nozzle getting clogged up. I've managed to keep this nozzle clogged up for months now, which is, for my track record, absolutely amazing. That's months longer than I would have expected. So just looking at the chat again, we've got a couple of people joined us. Good morning, Rachel. Hope you're well. Good morning, Tom, Neil, and another Tom. Right. Well, let's get into it. By the looks of it, with this kit, in case you have just joined us, we're doing the LX034 workshop shelving. Looks like you get double side, extra long version and short version. You also get them in varying heights. This one's got 3, those have got 4. Yep, just confirming that on the instruction sheet. So I think if we just get my head wrapped around this kit, we need obviously a couple of frames, so we'll release those first. I'll work out how they're held into the kit. There we go. A couple of nodes at the top block. Let's release them. And that should be it. I can't see any more. Oh no, there's one more at the side there. And one more on the other side. Missed that one. There we go. And then we'll get rid of a smaller one because I don't think we're going to be using that today. We'll build a bigger one, slightly bigger one. There we go. Just release the two halves. And then we've just got the center pieces to cut out, which have been held in with 4 nodes each without bending it. Sorry if I sound a bit tired tonight. I was up all night building baseboards. I think I got to bed about 1 last night building them. Tim Horn baseboards are great, but once you get started, you can't stop. They're very addictive. And you think, oh, I'll be able to knock that out very quickly. It's only a very simple baseboard. And then 2 hours later, you're still building it. But they're all built now. All 4 of my baseboards have been built, so I've now got a 15 by 2 foot model railway to play with. Or I've got the baseboard for a 15 by 2 foot. Got quite a bit more work left to do on it. Next step is, of course, painting. Just checking how many of these I've got left to cut. There we go. So that's the, and I've listened to some advice we were given last week, and I have found a piece of black plastic thing, not the cleanest, but hopefully that should make it a bit easier, a bit better to see the detail on what I'm trying to show the camera. But if we just put that to a test, hopefully, oh, we're getting glare now. I'll put that in a bit of shadow. Hopefully that looks a bit better than what I did last week. I do listen. I don't just, even though I'm talking to myself, I do listen. Right, so there's one. Just quickly do a second. Get rid of these innards, don't need them. Clear the work desk a bit. It's not the best, that little piece of black plasticky stuff. It's a lid from a shoebox that has been repositioned as a paint box, but hopefully it's made it better. I'll try and get a nicer thing of blackness to cover it up next week. Hopefully just make it look a bit more professional. Make it easy to see the detail as well. I don't want to tempt fate or anything, but I'm very surprised I've not cut myself yet on one of these Wednesday lives. But having said that, I have probably just ruined my chances. So if you hear a whelp soon, you probably know it's me. Right, there we go. That's the 2 sides done. Might just take the file to them just to even them up a bit, because the knife hasn't been very kind to them. Got a couple of I think they'll be known as burrs left on one of the supports. All it takes is a simple flat jeweler's file and a minute of your life just to clean them up. Except I don't think our file's too big to get in to the horizontal bar. I I've got a smaller one to hand, so that will have to do for now. But better than nothing. I could go rummaging for one, but I wouldn't want to put you through that, so we'll just carry on. It's only a very slight small one on the horizontals, it's the verticals that have more needed it. So we're nearly there, moving on to the next stage, which will be to glue onto the centres. Yeah, let's just glue on the centres. I actually think we need 3 of these. Looking at the instructions. Yeah, I think we need a 3rd, so I'm going to select my victim. Quickly release it. There we go. Since we're doing a bigger one, I believe there's one in the middle, so I'll just quickly release this. Very important to have a sharp knife, but I think I've run out of blades, so I'm making do with a semi-blunt one. Sharp one just makes it a bit cleaner, a bit easier. Probably quite hard to tell, but when I stick the knife in, since the blade's quite fat because it's blunt, it causes the surrounding kit to sort of bulge a bit, which does have an effect on the appearance. But of course, a sharp blade is thinner, so you don't get that bulging. So if you can, a sharp knife is always the way to go. Sharp knives are also safer because you're more likely to cut where you want to cut and the blade not to slip and cut you, which is something I have learned the hard way, especially when cooking. Not that I cook very often. I can't say I'm much of a chef. Right, so I think that's that done. Let's give it a quick little clean. So I hope everyone's doing all right. If everyone's got any questions or anything about what I'm doing, the club, any issues you're having, or any modelling in general, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them live for you. If you're watching on Facebook, if you want to leave a comment, the best thing to do is probably to head over to YouTube to leave the comment. Due to the privacy settings of Facebook, I probably won't see the comments until after the live stream's finished. So if you want to leave a comment and you watch on Facebook, I'd recommend just jumping over to YouTube or something. Right, so we've got those 4 done. Now I just need to decide which right, it's part B we need, which is that one. That makes sense to me. So we need 4 of these, I think. Also, when you use a blunt knife, it sort of kind of sticks to the kit, it doesn't cut as a knife. So if you just try keep a sharp knife to hand, it just makes life that much easier. A couple of extra nodes on this one. Morning, John Mackenzie. I hope you're doing all right. Thank you for joining us. And that's the first one. So we've got a couple more of these to do. There's a second. How many do we need? 3, I think. Having a second look. So in case anyone missed the news yesterday, just a bit of general information. Accure Scale have announced they're going to do a 3rd run of the HUO wagons, which is great for me, being a northeastern modeller. I do really like the HUO wagons, and I've only got 9 myself, which isn't enough for 1 rake, let alone 2. So I'm looking forward to getting a couple of more. Only issue is only doing 6 wagons in this one. Or they're only doing 6 pre-tops wagons anyway. We're doing 12. We're doing 6 tops, 6 pre-tops. So if you're into northeastern freight, the wagons will be quite suitable for you, so they're well worth looking into. Right, enough of waffle. I think what we need to do is to put the vertical supports, so the horizontal supports sort of in diagonally, if that makes sense, at an angle, and twist them around so they're in the middle, because we're doing the middle ones first to keep everything sort of spaced out. But I don't think it's wanting to play ball because it's twisted ever so slightly. So this might be a case of butcher one to make the second one better. Oh, no, it's a tight fit, but it fits. So what I'm going to do, it probably doesn't actually need any glue, it'll probably hold itself together. I'm just going to run a tiny bit of glue, probably can't see what I'm doing, on the underside of where it's going. That was a bit too much. If we just push it down, so it's flush, that looks about right to me. And then we'll go on to the second one. Can be a little bit fiddly. It's probably one of those things where the more you do, the less space you give yourself to do it, so the harder they get. You've got to put them in a 45-degree angle and then sort of twist them around so they click into place. In fact, what I might do, while the top one's glued in, the second one's just loose and has a bit of wiggle room, I'm just going to put the third in now. And then I'll glue the second and the third together. I've just got a little bit more space to play with. Just making that a little bit easier for myself. That's not quite right. That could do with a little tidy up, I reckon, once they're in place. It's just, I think there's the gap, the fit was a little bit too tight on one of them, so it's just made it come a bit frayed, however you want to describe it. So I'll try and show you that once it's in place. Oops. And that's something you got to look out for. Don't bend this part. This is really, really tight. There we go, there's one side. It's got to take your time on this. Don't rush, otherwise you might rip it. It's quite fine kit. So if we can, all you can hear is my concentration, but this is actually not the easiest because it's very, very tight. Might try and push it down with a file. There we go, just use a file, press it in. There we go. It's made a little bit of a mess with it because it's been a little bit tight, but here you go. And then this middle one, this one seems to be a lot easier. There we go. Yeah, that's much easier, he says. Not getting it in. This is really playing with me today. Right, there we go. So they are in. I do look a bit winky wonky at the moment, but hopefully once we get the other left and right part in, it'll sort of straighten it out. which I'm hoping we can find out now. Also, don't forget to make sure that you put all the legs on one way. Don't put legs facing the top on the left and bottom on the right or anything daft like that. We've all done it. I nearly did it last night building the baseboards. I nearly built two left-hand parts rather than a left and a right. Okay, so I'm just trying fitting this first, making sure they all do want to go before I start gluing. I think the best course of action might be to start from the top and then work down. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to that edge. I'll add a little bit of glue to the second as well in case we're lucky enough to get that in on the first run. But this is pretty much just a push fit, but it's quite tight. So you just have to be a little bit careful with it. Take your time, as usual. It's not a game, it's no rush. Hopefully. There we go, that's sticking. That's a lot easier than the other ones we've just done, the middles. I'm just going to hold that with pressure just to wait for the glue to dry and to bite. And the middle one's just come loose again. Oh. It's just come off. Right. Hopefully there's still enough tack in the glue. Don't have to re-glue it. Because when you re-glue this material, it's prone to becoming saturated since it is water absorbent. So if you can, you need to use as little glue as possible. Obviously when you re-glue it, you're using twice as much. Okay, I'm hoping. Oh, I'll tell you what, this is fiddly. This is really fiddly. Testing my patience today. This is really, really difficult. Can I get all these to line up? Behave. God's sake. Right. Okay. More glue. I know I'm contradicting what I've just said, but I'm going to glue it in a slightly different position to hopefully avoid the issue of saturation. Okay. Bottom one's in, middle one's in, top one is in, and now the other two are not in. Oh, this is challenging. I can't tell if it's my lack of ability, my lack of awakeness, or just a fiddly kit. Right, that should be in. If I just leave it alone, I want to poke it. Right. Just tweezing it with a knife now, just to make sure nothing comes undone. That was difficult. That was really difficult. Did not enjoy that at all. Right. Let's do it again. Hopefully, the more we've done, the easier they get because they sort of hold itself together again, so there's less play. A lot of glue on each corner for supports. I'll tell you what, we don't have this problem with steam stuff. Trying to build this type of shelving is hard enough in 1:1 scale. Let alone 76 times smaller. or 76.2 times smaller if we're counting numbers. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on that side because that seemed to work pretty well. So it's the side that's touching the mat is the side we're gluing at the moment. I was going to come in with a knife and just sort of tease it into position. Right. Just put it on the vertical. Standing up. You behave. No, go back in. Oh, Justin's giving me a hard one this week. More glue. Contradicting what I said earlier, but sometimes it's the way. Has anyone else built this kit before? Is it just me? Am I the only one who's struggling with this? Neil saying, no, it's not just you, they are really fiddly. No, Nutsford Ian says, just wait till you try the chain link fencing. Yeah, and I thought the post and wire with cotton thread was challenging. Bloomin' heck, that was difficult. That did not want to go. But hopefully, if I get my trusty noble steed, hopefully you can see that. Need a bit of blue tack on it so I can shift it around. Wheezy Palace model saying, did this in N scale, nightmare but doable. I don't think I'll ever do a kit in N gauge. It's difficult enough at O gauge, double O gauge for me, let alone twice as small. Andrew says, I've started a modeller's clothing range if anyone's interested. While wearing your best trousers, Oh, that's funny, Andrew. He's saying he started his own model clothing range. If you want to make your own, just wear some trousers and drop some glue on it. Yeah, I've got a pair of trousers like that I was building my baseboards in. I've just left, they just got covered, absolutely covered in burnt ends and plywood shaving. So I've just left them until I finish all the baseboards. Nick is saying, are there extra nuts and bolts in this kit so you end up panicking that you've missed something, just like the real thing? There probably is, to be honest. If I'll show you the sprue, if we design a kit and we've got a set size piece of wood and we don't use like that section, for example, we'll just fill it with whatever. And it does lead to some awkward conversations with customers when they finish the kit and they've got a little bit in the corner left over and they're not sure what to do with. That's just us giving you spares or extra bits. Chris Cox says, I built these and did not have a problem. Don't forget the top shelf. Yep. Top shelf, yeah, of course. Thank you for reminding me. So probably if Chris can do it, it's probably numbnuts here who's just struggling. I did say I'm tired in my defence, but nonetheless, we'll carry on. Right, so that's the top shelf, and that should just glue, as the name suggests, on top. Right, so I think a simple bead of glue at the top of each support. And just lay it on the top, making sure the ends are flush, which is easier said than done, and the whole kit just seems to warp a bit, which isn't ideal. The problem of using MDF, plywood, and this laser board material is at the end of the day it is wood, it moves, and sometimes it just doesn't want to be in the place you want it to be. This kit, for example, it's just warped ever so slightly. It's just bowing a bit. it just doesn't appear to want to behave. But hopefully with that added extra support, it just supports itself. And like Chris says, when we put the back brace in, which is, get this, these pieces, I believe, that should give it an extra bit of support as well. Just double check they are all the same, so we can pick any one we want. Let's quickly release this. There we go. And let's see how that fits on. Okay, so we need two. I get it. They go that way. So I just bring the camera up close. MDF sticking to me now. So with the back supports, they go on like that way around. So you have two. You have one there, and you have one on this half as well, which is all well and good. Just means we need to put a second one. Let's go have a drink. I'm parched. Cheers. It's hard work talking to yourself. Right. So just release the second brace. You can build these in 3 configurations. You can build them in single halves, so half of this. You can build it as I've done, as a double, or you can build it as sort of just 3 shelves rather than the 8 we've got here, so that big. Quite a nice little kit, to be fair. Difficult to get, well, not difficult to get your head around, difficult to get them nuts here to build it properly. But once we get it started, it seems to want to go together quite nicely. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on each corner, pinching it in the middle with a pair of tweezers. And I'm just going to drop it in place. This is where I wish I didn't suffer from very shaky hands. Don't know why I have shaky hands. I don't have much caffeine at all, but just a quirk, I guess. Anyway, hopefully you can see that should be setting nicely. Steve says he tried modelling when he was tired and he fell off the catwalk. I'm just going to add a tiny splodge of glue to the back of the support we just did, just to give it a little bit of extra bite. And that should be fine. That's number 2. There it is. And then same again, bit of glue, 4 corners, tweezers, stick into place. That's probably a good time to mention that I'm actually going down to HQ next week. Me and my colleague Ian are travelling down on Saturday. And I'll be spending the week working from HQ. So if anyone's got any sort of questions they want me to ask while I'm there, or things for me to look at while we're there, then now's the time to ask. Now's the time to fire those questions off. And hopefully I'll be able to create some interesting content while we're down there. Lots of Ian saying Christmas party. I don't know if we're doing a Christmas party as such, but I know we're going out for a meal. One night we're going to a tapas restaurant, which I don't know what I think of tapas. Never really had it. I'm allergic to fish though, so that could be interesting. But I guess I'll just have plenty of chorizo and raging bull bulton if they do it. I've heard enough about it on the adverts. All I can think of when I think of Spanish food is raging bull bulton. I hate that advert. Hopefully someone in the comments will be able to agree with me on that one, but it's the most annoying thing known to man, that. Right, I think if no one else here, just double check the instructions. Yep, that's it done. That is, have a look at the finished product. Now, if you were wanting to paint this, I would recommend just giving it a once over with a what do we call it? A can of Halford's car primer in a nice battleship grey. That's what I always recommend. The primer, it gives it a very good covering. It doesn't soak in too much to the MDF, so you're not going to saturate it too badly. But also it's a great base to then add some rust detail on, or paint a certain shelf, a certain colour, or even to glue products on. But as you can see, it's gone together pretty well. It's quite a nice little kit once you fight with it, and it's quite nice. So yeah, that's the LX034 workshop shelving. That's the first kit of the morning done. Steve says, I have some items in my basket that a family member wants to buy for Christmas. If she buys it, do I still get points and discount? I presume you mean the first class discount, first class members discount. What I would recommend is adding those items to your wish list, Steve. If you go onto view the product you want, you can add it to your wish list, and then you can send that wish list to the people that you would like to get those items for you for Christmas or birthday or something like that. And then they'll be able to purchase them without you knowing necessarily, although if you've asked for them, I suppose you know you're getting them anyway. But you'll be able to send the discount code to that family member so they get a discount as well. And then if you tell them to get in touch with us, maybe, or if you get in touch with us saying, this person has bought these items for me, then on the back end we can manually take the points from the person who bought them and add them to your account. So there is a way to do it. All you have to do is add it to your wish list, give them the code, and then tell us once they've purchased it, or ask them to tell us they've purchased it, and then we'll be able to manually transfer the points over for you. But no, definitely it's possible. Just need to let us know once you've done it, and then we'll take it from there. Right, so that's this cozy little number done. Right, should we do something a bit easier? What have we got? I've misplaced it. Was this it? Yes, gas bottle cages. Hopefully this is a little less taxing on my small, fragile Wednesday morning mind. I'm just glad that Christmas songs haven't started playing on the radio yet for me. I've been fully expecting them to, but I'm very happy that they haven't. So I hope that answered your question, Steve. If you want me to type it out for you, just chuck us an email, dylan@ScaleModelScenery.co.uk, and I'll explain what to do in text form, so you can forward it to your family member or friend or whoever is appropriate to. Okie doke. Gas bottle cages. These are nice mesh cut, laser engraved kits. Hopefully you can see the detail on that. Very, very fine. Very intricate. They almost look like stroop waffles, if you know what I mean by them. The stroop waffles are really, really nice and go very nice with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Right, let's just have a look at the instructions. So we don't need a detailing part just yet. It's this cozy little number we need. So just double checking on the instructions. It looks like we get a pack of 2 in the kit. I'm just going to make sure we have the right parts before we get going. I don't want to make half of one and half of the other. Okay, so I believe these parts at the top are for the smaller cage and these parts at the bottom are for the larger cage. That will make sense to my small mind. I believe that's right. There was 1 second. Measure twice, cut once. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually release the mesh parts and stick them onto the rear of the core frame. So I'll quickly do that. Here's 1, 2, 3. Definitely need to tidy these up a bit. I can already tell that it's going to take a little bit of filing just to tidy up a bit. But they are very, very wafer thin. They're very, very, very fine, these. Trying to cut where there's nothing to cut. That's just ripped a bit there. I'm going to tidy that up in a second. Pull that away and just clean it up with the back of a knife. Morning, Dak Dak. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining us. In case you missed it, we've just built the LX034 workshop shelving. Quite a nice little kit, but very frustrating and fiddly. I imagine there's quite a lot of people watching, have a good old giggle at my inability to do something as simple as that. But hey ho. Right. Okie doke. So that goes that way. Just having to make sure, get this correct. Glue it onto the rear as well, not the front. You can tell the front has the engraving on of the product code number, and the back, obviously, the fact it doesn't have the company name and product number on there. Right, knife. I'm going to release these, but could be famous last words. I'm going to release these parts to make it easier, because I find sometimes if you glue parts onto parts, come on, then you end up gluing the part into the sprue, which makes it very hard to release. That's stiff. Come on. Let's make sure we've got it the right way around. So this is the mesh detail gluing onto the inside of the kit. And we need to leave a little buffer either side. Right, this is going to be intricate to glue. Hopefully we can do it first time. Bead of glue to each side. Take your stroop waffle looking piece, much like you would to a cup of tea, put it over what you're intending to glue. And using your mitts, just tweeze it central. And once it's glued, I'm just going to take a file to it and just clean it over. And just like that, Simon Cox has said, top tip, put your stroop waffle on top of your fresh hot cup of tea for a few minutes. It softens and it's really tasty. If it's a caramel stroop waffle, the caramel will go liquidy, which is really, really nice. Every day's a school day on Railway Modelers. Right, I'm just trying to make heads and tails of this now. Which piece goes where? I feel like I might have just really complicated it for myself. Take my head for this kit. It shouldn't be that complicated. God, that's stiff. That's really stiff. There we go. So this is a door. It looks like you can actually open the doors as well. They've been cut in such a way where you can sort of push them through, open the doors a bit. Alright, but that's the door. I think these are the parts we need for the inside. Just double check that they sort of fit. This is mighty confusing me this morning. Too early for a live build. Okay, so a little bit of glue along the inside of the kit. I'm not going to faff around with opening doors or anything, so I'm not going to worry about gluing over the join. They can become a casualty of building the kit. A compromise, because at the end of the day, everything's a compromise when you're modelling. It's just deciding which compromises to make. So, press that down. There we go. That's half of the door done. And then take the other half and do the same. Try not to get your fingers stuck to it in the process. And just push them flush together. There we go. That's the door done. Okay, so now we need to do the side pieces, which are, I think, those two. And that'll be the lid. So just release them. And one more. There we go. And decide which parts we need to use. I believe it's these two. And just make sure they go over and they fit, which they do indeed. They fit flush. There's no buffer zone on these ones, so make sure you glue them flush on. There's buffers. There's like a gap on the other two, where the mesh doesn't quite go to the edge of the main frame, and that's just to make it easier to put together. But there isn't that on the side because you only need it on two sides of the kit, not all of them. So just tap that in place, straighten it up, and that's the one half done. And there's just a little bit of a burr on this one. Just like that, it's gone. Super. Simon Cock is saying the postman's just delivered his first Christmas cards. I sympathise for you there, Simon. As some may know, I'm a brass band player. I play in 2 brass bands at the moment. So from next week when I get back from Cornwall, I'll be having Christmas concerts pretty much every single day of the week. So Christmas is not a good time, really. It just gets boring, repetitive, stressful, expensive, calorific. Call me bar humbug, but when you've got to play Jingle Bells about 10 times a week, you can sort of excuse me. Right, last piece now, which is the roof, the top piece. And then I believe we just need to glue it all together. That thing down. Energetic of it. And just double check this goes on flush. If it is flush. Let's have a look. Yep, that looks about right to me. So again, this part goes on flush with no buffer zone around the edge. Sap from the MDF has leaked onto my fingers, made them go all brown, which is annoying. Normally I would recommend washing your hands every 10-15 minutes when you're building a kit like this. Just keeps it clean, keeps it tidy. Avoid parts sticking to you, and you avoid getting glue marks on anything, which will show up when you paint it. So there we go, that's gone on really nicely, that's straightened itself up. And just press that down, double check it's straight. It does, so there we go, that's, I believe, all the parts that we actually need to build it. So I think now we just need to glue a side onto a side and build the kit up a bit. Let's go from the back, I think. Is that the best thing to do? Probably. Just double checking on the instructions. How Justin recommends doing it. It's hard to say, do we glue? Yeah, so that way or that way. Okay, we're going to start from the front. I think it's going to be easy to start from the front because that looks like it's more clear. And then when we get around to the back, it will be very clear how it goes together. Because there's a nice buffer zone I was talking about for the sides to slot in from the front, but there isn't on the back. So there might just be a little bit more taxing to do it from the back first. So if we do the front doors first, just make sure that's sort of holds itself. So if you can see my head. Simon's saying, as you are in two brass bands, do you have a preferred one for competitions, or what happens if they're in the same competition? With brass banding, you can only compete in one brass band, even if other brass bands are in different areas and different sections, you can still only compete in one. So I compete in, it's not local, it's about an hour drive up the M1 every other night. And that's Emily. They're a section 2, which is relatively high. Obviously, you've got famous brass bands in section 1, like Black Dyke and Grindthorpe Colliery. And this band's in section 2, so they're quite different, run over stuff. But I just like playing with them in the sections and the competitions. And he's saying, yes, you sympathise with having to play endless songs on cold, damp high streets. Yeah, but the good thing is we get a lot of free food. Quite a lot of the places we play for feed us, which is always welcome. I'll never say no to free food, ever. It's one way to win your way into my heart. Okie doke, I'm just sort of aligning the back piece up now, making sure that goes there. Just giving it a little dry run first. If you're never sure about what you're doing, just give it a dry run, and that should hopefully make it more clear. You don't have to worry about glue or anything. So hopefully with the back piece in as well, it sort of holds it out a bit. It's probably not going to be the smartest, neatest looking, but as regular watchers will know, I always like to recommend to be prepared to mess the first one up. If the first one you ever do doesn't look, you're not happy with it, don't be disheartened because you've learned from it. Get a second one and have another go. Hang on. Oh, I am. Oh, you're gonna laugh. I'll show you what I've done. You are going to laugh when I show you what I've done. Can you see that one side is wider than the other? That's because if we get this part, this is the other side. That's the same width as that piece there, but it's a lot shorter than that piece there. I have somehow managed to glue the roof on as a side, and the roof is a different dimension. So that is the size piece that's meant to glue on compared to what it is. As you can see, it's all wonky. Look at that. Just as I was saying, be prepared to make a mistake on the first one you do because it's the first one you do. The second one's going to always be a lot better. Right, how are we going to solve this? Well, luckily I don't think the glue's gone off yet, so I should just be able to tweeze this out. And then there we go. Right, so that's the roof removed from the side. Now let's get the side and glue that in place. Oh, I do apologise, everyone. I hope you've all had a good laugh at my expense there. Don't worry, I give you full permission to laugh, berate, make fun of me, give me funny nicknames because of it. My mistake. We're all human. And the parts do look extremely similar. There's not much between them. Right, so I'm just going to get the pliers. Luckily, I think I've managed to save it. I was wondering why it didn't look right. You know, why the parts didn't seem to go together correctly. Because numbnuts here was trying to glue a roof on as a side. There we go. That's much more true and square. Right. Diversion over. Oh, it's been a long week. It's only Wednesday. It's all them Christmas carols I'm playing, I tell you. Bad for your health. They make you go delusional. That fits a lot better now. That's, I can't believe I did that. Gluing a side on as a roof. What next? Right, now we're going to glue the roof on as a roof, not as a side. But luckily, it's holding the kit together a lot better now. It looks a lot cleaner. And it's not a funny shape. That would have been funny if I got all the way to the end and wondered why there was a huge gap in the roof. That's because I've used the side. A little bit of glue all around the top. Take the top piece, mesh side down, and just plonk it on top. Making sure it's nice and square. So there we go. That, apart from, we got a little bit of detailing bit. And we've got some hinges to put on. That could be fun. Right, I'm going to, since I had to pull it apart a bit, I'm going to go down the inside with a little bit of glue, just to strengthen it up. I think there's that. If you think your glue is just drying up a bit and struggling to come out, just in the jam jar, just give it a good squeeze and it will just sort of start to come out. It'll take a while. It just sort of revives it a bit. There we go. That's better. So on the main sprue, these are door hinges. and they go here. Let me get my focusing marvel of engineering, the shoebox. They go on the corners there. Hopefully you can see that. All four corners. I think Justin's given you quite a lot on purpose, because these do look like the kind of parts that will ping off into the carpet monster if you are not careful. To be lost forever until you're hoovering up and you hear something rattling inside the hoover and you think, oh, that's where that screw went, or that's where that door handle went. Right, how are we going to do this? I think a dry one first, since they're so small and fiddly. Just double check which way around they go. Drop it into place. Okay, so that is the way they go. I'm just going to line them all up. There we go. And this is where the fine applicator really comes into its own. Tiniest sort of blob in each four corners. That's way too much glue to put on. Carefully does it. Sort of smudge them into place. Oh, do you see what I mean? I don't know if you heard that, but it went bing, and it shot off in that general direction somewhere. That's probably why Justin's giving you twice as many as you need. Right, and cut one more from the screw because we've inevitably lost one. I think there is. See, there's about 8. You only need 4. So that's probably the reason there's plenty. And this should be the last piece for this week's build. There we go. Oh. Once this glue dries, that will all be it. And that will be nice and clear and you won't be able to see. Right. There we go. That is the LX, what do we call it? Where's the instructions gone? Where's the instructions? LX261 gas bottle cages. And if we just crack this pop open, I should be able to model what it will look like with some gas bottles in. I think these are actually the wrong size gas bottles for this size container. They are all double O gauge, we just seem very small. I think they're probably too small. Oh well. Hopefully you can see that inside. Obviously once painted, just looks like a mist of red on the inside. But once painted, that'll look much clearer. I don't think the camera's really picking up on that itself. So that's 2 kits done. So LX261 gas bottle cages and the LX034. Both are perfect kits for any workshop engineering diorama you have going on. You know, any TMD, car sales place, anything really, whether it's engineering or what do you call it? Anything engineering or construction. Steve's saying, why is everything LX product code? The simple answer to your question is it isn't. There's LX, AX, KX, CX, and a couple of others. LX is laser cut, so it's primarily a laser cut kit. KX, I believe, is mainly either a card kit or a wrap kit. So like the KX57 barn, that's laser cut MDF, but it features a wrap, so that's got a KX product number. Same for, let's get my, since we've finished, let's get my ugly mug back on. So the KXs are either card kits, so like the KX001 1930s factory, or they feature a wrap. LX is laser cut, so like this is LX. AX is 3D printed, so these AX134 laser 3D printed propane bottles. What else have we got? CX is metal, I believe, so chains, that sort of thing. That's CX. And there's probably a couple of others. SX is accessory stands and assisting parts like the SX002 jig or the SX008 paint stand, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's about it for the product code. So that's why the product codes are as they are. But yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed that. Just while I've got everyone, next week, as I said, I'm in Cornwall. So there might not be a live build as you know it, but there might be doing a live Q&A. So if you've got any questions you want to ask the whole team, do let us know. I'm confirmed with Justin on that one, but I'm pretty certain that's what we're doing. But once I know if we're doing something like that, I'll let everyone else know so you can get your questions in. But super, and now we actually have quite a number of small kits to go with the LX314, which is the laser cut LX laser cut workshop, engineering workshop, featuring my amazing graffiti, which isn't that amazing in places. That's my favourite one. Pies rule and cats like playing crisps, which is probably true. Never had a cat, so I can't test that theory. Excuse me. So I hope everyone's enjoyed that live stream. Any questions, or if you want to see any photos, just let me know in the Rail Modelers Club. Or you can email me at dylan@ScaleModelScenery.co.uk. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions anyone's got. So until next time, hopefully I'll see you all next week for a Q&A with the whole team, which should be quite interesting and fun. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day and hope everyone has a good week. And I'll see you all next time. Cheers, everyone. Bye for now.